My name is Gina, and this weekend I saw Funny People. This was written and directed by Judd Apatow, and by now Judd Apatow is very well known for his raunchy sense of humor and his situational comedy, like in 40-Year-Old Virgin or Knocked Up. This is a lot more serious movie for him. Even the filming style is different. There's a lot of point of view perspective shots. There's a scene in the beginning where Adam Sandler gets some bad news and the person he's looking at gets the blurry Barbara Walters filter, and you can almost feel like his eyes are welling up with tears as he watches this guy. So it's really interesting to see that. It really gets you emotional right from the get-go. Adam Sandler plays George Simmons, a stand-up comedian turned actor in his 40s who has been diagnosed with a terminal disease, and he's looking back on his life and is in the process of having one last crack at the stand-up racket with the time he has left. Now you bring in Seth Rogen, and he's playing Ira Wright, who is a struggling stand-up comedian, and he's working in a deli, and he even has to pay his friends to come see him, so it's a little bit sad. George happens to notice Ira at a gig, and maybe out of loneliness, he asks Ira to come work for him as an assistant and write some jokes. It's really interesting to see the behind the scenes perspective of doing stand up comedy. It's so much harder than I ever thought it was because the people who are great at it, they just make it look easy. But there's so much writing and trying your jokes out on your friends that you don't normally get to see. So to talk about Seth Rogen, he is painfully awkward as Ira Wright, and you kind of cringe in your seat at some of the jokes he attempts. You root for him though, because you can see that he's trying to be a really good person deep down, and you want him to win. He seems like a really nice guy. He has to sleep on the pull-out couch in the apartment he shares with two roommates, played by Jonah Hill and Jason Schwartzman. His roommates overshadow him because they're marginally more talented and successful. One's a slightly better stand up comedian, and the other has a leading role at a Disney Channel teacher sitcom, which sucks. And they treat him like crap a lot of the time, but he kind of takes it all in stride. It's really like a dream come true for Ira when he gets to start working for George. He gets to visit on private jets and hang out with groupies, and he gets to spend a few minutes doing opening for him and slowly is improving his act as the movie goes on. Adam Sandler is George Simmons. This character is so relatable to him, it really fits him like a second skin. It's so easy to see him in this role of a comedian letting fans take pictures with him and having to watch himself in really crappy family movies and living in a huge house with servants, but he's all alone and he's never made time for a family. He starts to wonder, is it too late for me to start looking for these things? There are some fantastic moments between these two characters. This is a great movie for Sandler's career because it combines the version of him we've seen glimpses of in Click or in Rain Over Me. And I almost cried in one or two of these scenes. But then you're brought to laughing again because the way he deals with his coming death is by making jokes about it on and off stage. I was really into this movie, and then a really big change took place. George finds out that the experimental meds he's been using have actually been making him better and that there's no current trace of the disease in his system. And the movie becomes this whole other thing where he's trying to get back with the girl who got away, his ex-girlfriend, played by Leslie Mann, but she is married to Eric Bana and has two kids. There's a lot of drama about this husband's possible infidelity and her halted acting career, but it all feels out of place after the first story in the earlier part of the movie. Eric Bana is pretty good at like rubbing you the wrong way as this testosterone driven Australian, and Leslie Mann has some beautiful acting moments. However, in one scene, she's trying to keep a secret from her husband, and so she tries to pull out some of this acting talent she has, and She does terrible at it. And that's really disappointing because we know she can act. In an earlier scene where she's genuinely upset over George, she's like bawling her eyes out. We know she can do it. So I'm not sure why they chose to make her character a bad actress when it's one of those things she regretted about her life. I think they could have made a different choice there. It's really tough in this part of the story because you want these characters each to find some form of happiness, but it's always at someone else's expense. So you're trying to weigh who's the most deserving, and it's not an easy call. So this whole section of the story doesn't fit with the whole first part of the movie, the part of the movie that I really enjoyed. Some bad decisions are made, and some scenes go on longer than they should as you watch the momentum of the other story just kind of fizzle out. There was a subplot with Seth Rogen's character trying to get with this female comedian on a date, and it really didn't contribute to the story very much. All it did was show us that Seth Rogen's character, Ira, wasn't very self confident and that he wasn't gay. I wish they had cut down on the part of the story with Leslie Mann, even though she does a really good job, and just focused on the story between the two main guys, and that would have been a better movie for me. I would recommend renting this movie, but probably not spending my money in the theater on it.